Hey guys, I hope everybody can hear me and see me. Unfortunately, right when I got started to stream, when I hit start streaming on OBS, um, it gave me an error and wouldn't start streaming. So I'm not sure what was going on. I had tried to update my video card driver, and that's the only thing that I did differently before I started OBS. And so I had to roll back the driver, or do a system restore rather, to get everything working again. Uh, Great. I'm glad you guys can hear me and everything. I also have got a new green screen that attaches to the back of my computer chair called a web around. And I'm really liking it. It makes it easier to put a put more pictures back there behind me, and it looks better. Um, or in my opinion, it looks better than just draping that green fabric over the back of Steve's computer behind me. This way, I can cover up everything behind me, and so I've got a nice, pretty seamless background. Uh, oh, you couldn't sleep, Darren? Well, I'm glad I'm able. I mean, I'm sad that you can't sleep because I know how aggravating it is. Uh, not to be able to sleep. But I'm glad that you're here to join us. Um, and I'm going to, dispense with the housekeeping stuff since I had a late start. I meant to start at 8:15. It is now 8:43 Eastern Time. Um, and I don't want to keep anybody, if they are on Eastern Time or Central Time or whatever, I don't want to keep them up really late. And for those of you that are having trouble sleeping, you might want to go to sleep at some point. Um, I don't have to go into work until a little bit later tomorrow. I'm working an evening shift. Hence, I wanted to try out the new web around green screen background. Which I'm really, really enjoying it. Now, if I could just get my video editing software working on the new computer, that's actually why I was updating the drivers. And it unfortunately didn't work for the software to get the software working, and it messed up OBS. So needless to say, it didn't work on either account. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And, there may be other, Valentine's horror films. I'm only going to cover 3 because they're my 3 favorite ones, my 3 go-tos when it gets around the Valentine's Day season. 2 are my big, big favorites. And 1 has become one of my favorites in the last few years, and I will cover that one last. So anyway, hey Brad, I'm going to go ahead and kick this off with the first film, which it's actually a double feature from Scream Factory that came out a few years back. Um, I don't think Steve and I had been married too awfully long when this came out from Scream Factory. And the second movie on the disc is not really a Valentine's Day horror movie, but I tend to watch it just because it's in the same package or on the same disc after the one that I'm actually going to talk about. So I may talk a little bit about the other one just for those of you that haven't seen that particular movie. You might, after I talk about it a little bit, you might be interested in watching it yourself. But the one that has a Valentine's Day theme is X-Ray, or Hospital Massacre, starring Barbie Benton, who Barbie Benton way back when was I think she was a Playboy playmate, and I think she had a fling, as I guess many of the playmates did with Hugh Hefner. I think she lived with him for a while or something like that. I'm guessing she was like his girlfriend. So, but anyway, I remember the first time I saw this, and I was probably, I don't know, maybe 13 or so the first time I saw this. Um, and you guys are probably thinking, oh my gosh, you saw this movie with the Barbie Benton nude and everything in it. Uh, yeah, I did actually. This was, when my family was big into video rentals, and this was during that time period where we hadn't had a VCR very long. And my dad basically used to go to the video store at least once a week and get a big stack of movies. And a lot of them were horror movies because that's what I like to watch, and that's also at the time what my mom liked to watch. My mom, not so much now, but she used to really be into this stuff. Um, but that's the first time I saw X-Ray or Hospital Massacre. And I remember briefly my mom mentioning that Barbie Benton was a Playboy playmate or whatever, or she'd been in Playboy or whatever. Um, it was also, just to let you know how old this movie is. You see Barbie Benton's character smoking in the hospital, just out in the hallway smoking. I mean, you can't do that anymore. So, basically in Owensboro, close to where I grew up, the hospital there, they started making you. First, they made you go just outside the hospital when there was a smoking area. Then later, a little bit later, they made you go across the street from the hospital to smoke. Um, and I know this not because I'm a smoker, but my mom is a smoker. My dad was also a smoker for years, and then he gave them up. He just wadded up the pack of cigarettes one day and said, I'm not gonna smoke anymore." And he went to chewing big red gum and cinnamon discs and all that. Just, it's that oral thing where you've got to have something in your mouth. Um, and I'm not trying to be dirty or anything, guys, but instead of putting a cigarette in his mouth and puffing on it, he would have the hard candy and the chewing gum. And that's how I actually, I wasn't 13 when I figured out there was no tooth fairy. I figured out there was no tooth fairy really before then. And the reason why I was able to figure that out so easily was my dad, when he quit smoking, of course, he quit chewing big red gum. And during that time period, when he first quit smoking, when I would leave a tooth under my pillow for the tooth fairy would leave me $1 and a stick of big red gum. But I got completely off topic, talking about the smoking and things. But I want to say that X-Ray was like 1980, but I could be wrong on that. Perhaps it was a little bit later, but I know it was early 80s in any event. And you may be thinking, really, does this have a Valentine's Day theme to it? Yes, it does. When Susan Jeremy, who's Barbie Benton's character, was a young girl of 11, 12 maybe, her character is played by the girl who played one of the killer kids in Bloody Birthday, the little blonde girl. And she plays young Susan. So the movie starts out, it's Valentine's Day, and Susan has a boy over, and there's no parents around anywhere. I don't know where the parents went. These kids look too young to be staying alone, uh, and using knives to cut big Valentine's Day ice cream cakes or whatever kind of cake that she was cutting, and all that. But that's kind of beside the point. But anyway, her Susan and her boyfriend, or just a friend that just happens to be a boy, were playing with like a train going on at one of those remote controlled trains that would go on a track, kind of like the little race tracks with the little race cars that you used to get back in the day. And they're eating Valentine's Day cake and stuff. And one of the Jacobys, I want to say it's Billy Jacoby, I think. I get the names confused. There's like two or three Jacobys, so I sometimes get them mixed up. Darren, you say you got the original VHS of this. I did get the Scream Factory Blu-ray, but it's been years since I've seen it. Can't remember much. You're hungry for Valentine's Day cake, pal. Yeah, Wes, I know. It actually makes me hungry for some Valentine's Day cake. You think maybe I should ask Steve to get me one for Valentine's Day? Already asking for something sloth related, because I'm still crazy over owls, but I'm also crazy over sloths as well. So anyway, back to the movie. So Billy Jacoby plays Harold. I guess he's kind of an outcast that some of the other kids make fun of, and he's got a crush on Susan. And so he leaves a kind of a homemade Valentine on her doorstep, and then kind of runs away and hides to watch her read it. And then he comes back up to the window, and he's looking in as she's reading it, and Susan and the boy laugh and wad up the Valentines and throw it down on the floor. Then I think that's when Susan goes in the kitchen to get some cake, and she hears a scuffle from the living room. When she comes back in there, Harold has hung her boyfriend up on what we used to call a hall tree, where you would hang your coats and hats and stuff on. And then it goes to what is the present day within this movie. Susan is now played by Barbie Benton, and she's kind of has an argument with her ex-husband, who wants to leave her daughter with her, and she's like, I can't take her right now. You'll have to take her and bring her back later. I got a promotion at my job, and I got to get a checkup, and I've got to go to the hospital and get my results. So she has her new boyfriend take her to the hospital, and she says, you don't have to go in. It won't take very long. And so she goes in the hospital, and they send her up to the doctor's office where she's supposed to be able to get these results. Of course, by the time she gets up there, the doctor's been dispatched by a killer who's dressed as a doctor, as you can see there on the cover. And basically, this person who I'm not going to tell you which of the people in the hospital is. We all know it's Harold, but I don't want to tell you who is actually Harold. You may figure that out before then, but I don't want to spoil it for you in case you want to be a surprise. But there are some weird ass people in this hospital. I mean, not just the patients, but the doctors are weird. There's another doctor that examines Barbie Benton, and has her take all her clothes off, basically. And it's like he's trying to fill her up and stuff under the guise of giving her an exam because somebody has messed with her test results, her x rays and stuff, and made it look like she's got cancer or something else horrible, and just so the killer can keep her in the hospital to try to do away with her. There's a great head in a Valentine's Day box scene. I think there's some pretty, decent kills in this. I mean, some of it might be a little hokey, but overall, I enjoyed it. And like I said, it is one that I get out every year around this time, because I could be wrong, and you guys feel free to correct me if I am wrong. But I don't think there are all that many Valentine's Day related horror films. Um, yes, Darren, the blonde girl from Bloody Birthday is in this. She plays the young Susan at the beginning of the movie. Um, but anyway, that's the basic plot of X-Ray or Hospital Massacre. I used to have actually a big box. And I may still have it somewhere, but after I moved from my parents' house to moving to Louisville and moving in with Steve, I'm not sure if some things got left behind in the closet in my old bedroom at my parents' house or not. My mom says she still has some of my things there. So it's either in a box here at mine and Steve's house, or it's in a closet somewhere in a box at my parents' house somewhere. But it was one of those really cool oversized VHS boxes. And if I remember correctly, the VHS actually sat in a little tray. There was a little black tray that went into the oversized like clamshell case that this thing was in. Yeah, Lover's Lane. I had forgotten about that one, Darren. That's been a long time since I've seen that one. I need to go back and try to watch that again. Hey, Dirk. I'm glad that you made it. Actually, I was a little bit delayed in being able to do this when I had some OBS issues. Tried to update my video card drivers, and that did not work very well with OBS. It prevented from streaming like it's supposed to. So anyway, I was going to talk briefly about the other movie that is on here, even though technically it's not a Valentine's movie. It is Schizoid with Donna Wiltz, Klaus Kinski, Craig Wasson, Christopher Lloyd, very early Christopher Lloyd appearance. Flo Garish from Don't Answer the Phone is in this. And Mariana Hill from Blood Beach is starring in this. I mean, there's some pretty, recognizable names in this one. And again, I don't want to give away the killer's identity in case there are some of you that have not seen this. But I highly recommend Schizoid. Even though I'm going to talk about it, even though it doesn't really have a Valentine's Day theme. Actually, Jay, I'm going to talk about that one here. That was actually the one that I've become more of a fan of in later years. I wasn't so much a fan of it the first time I watched it, but after a couple of subsequent viewings, um, I grew to enjoy it. So, Darren, you saw Schizoid recently and enjoyed it. It is very Giallo like, with using the scissors to kill, um, and I believe there's black gloves used in it as well. But this was one of those movies where I had never really heard of it before, but I was watching another movie, and it was on VHS. And I'm sure a lot of you remember back in the VHS days, there were a lot of kind of gritty trailers because that was a time period when a lot of things were gritty. The movies were gritty, the trailers were gritty, but usually um, before it came on, and more so than it is now after the movie, there were trailers. And I'm trying to remember what the VHS I was watching was. I can't remember if it was like prom night or what, but whatever the movie was, at the end of the movie, they had a trailer for this movie called Schizoid. And I was like, wow, this movie looks cool, you know. Um, and so when I was finally able to get my hands on a copy, I watched it. And I've been a fan of Schizoid ever since. And I would definitely agree with Darren that it's very Giallo like. I hadn't thought about that in a while until Darren brought that up. You know, Dirk, speaking of the Dead Pit movie, I I have never finished that particular movie up. I got part way into it, but never have finished it. I need to go back and finish it, actually. Dirk, are you saying you'll have to check out Schizoid? Yeah, you might be able to get a Blu-ray of this, the Scream Factory Blu-ray. Of course, you may have to get it off of eBay or something. Um, and you also, if you get this version, you also get the DVD and the Blu-ray. There's not a lot of special features um, on both of these. Um, X-Ray or Hospital Massacres got an interview with the director Boaz Davidson. Schizoid has an interview that's actually pretty good with Donna Wilkes, and there's a theatrical trailer. Uh, Both films are 89 minutes, which is kind of strange, being two 89-minute movies on the same disc. Um, yeah, Dirk, I would highly recommend Schizoid if you can get a copy of it. I think previous to watching it on this Blu-ray, I think I watched it on VHS, and I may have a VHS of it. It's possible. But like I said earlier, a lot of my VHS, I don't know what I've done to them or done with them in between moving from my parents' house to where I live now. Um, so I don't think things got lost. I think they're either here tucked away or they're at my parents' house tucked away somewhere in a closet somewhere. Um, but a quick rundown on Schizoid is Mariana Hill plays a newspaper advice columnist. She does a column called Dear Julie. It's kind of like Dear Abby. People write in and ask her opinions on what they should do about certain things. But she starts getting threats from a mysterious person, and you're not sure at first if the person that's sending her these threatening letters is the same person that's killing people off in her therapy group, led by Klaus Kinski. And the funny thing about this movie, or I found it funny, is Klaus Kinski is basically having sex with every one of the female members of this group. And I don't know, I just found that amusing. Um, but anyway, the women, only the women in this therapy group are being killed. Um, it's not the men. There are, a few men in the group. A couple that I know of. One who is played by Christopher Lloyd, and one of his more oddball roles. Doc Brown. This isn't. So you might be interested in seeing Christopher Lloyd in this little horror film. Oh yeah, Darren, I had forgotten about that. I've seen Last American Virgin, and I love that movie. Except I don't like the ending. I don't. Lawrence Monason. I hate what happens to him after all he's gone through the entire film, and what I'm not gonna give it away for those of you that haven't seen Last American Virgin, but it is a really good film, just a downer ending in my opinion. So anyway, that is X-Ray, aka Hospital Massacre, and Schizoid. Highly recommend actually both of those movies. The next one I'm going to talk about, actually I heard some sad news in regards to this movie. Someone that was in this movie, actually, Steve told me that Paul Kelman, who plays TJ in My Bloody Valentine, passed away recently. So I was really, I was bummed out about that, because not only has Paul Kelman passed away now, but the guy that plays Howard in this movie, and he was also on Funeral Home as the cop, has also passed away prior to Paul Kelman passing away. Yeah, I make you dig for those spoilers, Jay, because I don't like to give stuff away, because people have give stuff away to me and spoiled movies for me. And yeah, I went on and finished them, but my dad was notorious for ruining movies for me. He's done that more than once when I was growing up. Yeah, so Darren, so I'm not the only one that thinks the ending to Last American Virgin is sad. I thought maybe it was just because I was a girl, and but I could see where guys would be really pulling for this guy, and then what happens to him, is just a really huge letdown. Um, Yeah, you're definitely going to give it a watch now, Dirk. Well, I hope you do. I hope you're able to get a copy too, even if you had to download it. Darren, you say My Bloody Valentine's top 3 slasher of all time, along with The Burning and The Fun House. Oh, good Lord, these bots are in here again. Jay, you said that ending seems entirely realistic. Life is brutal. Yeah, unfortunately, it is. And Dirk, you just watched So Sweet, So Perverse. I think Steve has that, but I don't know for sure if I've watched that one or not. Maybe I need to just break down and watch it. Uh, but anyway, not to get on a really sad thing about people passing away that have been in these movies, but Paul Kelman was one of those guys that I always hoped would turn up at a convention someday, and I'd get to meet him. Um, the guy that played the miner, um, he showed up at a convention, I thought, not too long ago. Um, but I wasn't able to make it to that one. So this is a Canadian-made film, and you will definitely feel the Canadian flavor in it. It won't take too long before you realize that this is a Canadian film if you didn't already know. Um, Directed by George Mahalka, produced by John Dunning and Andre Link, and Stephen Miller, who John Dunning and Andre Link did a lot of Canadian films, not just horror films, but a lot of Canadian films in general. The music was done by Paul Jaja, who did music for Prom Night and a lot of other Canadian horror films. This also stars, I can't even talk tonight, guys, stars Lori Hallier and Neil Affleck. Steve and I did a commentary for this where I don't even think I was drinking or anything, but the way Steve was saying rail cars, you would just have to listen to the commentary. I'm not sure if Wes has it on the Dead Pit site or on Dead Pit on Patreon or anything like that. But if you can listen to it, just listen for me to start laughing like a loon towards midways through the film when Steve starts talking about rail cars, and he's trying to talk like TJ in the movie, and I just lost it. And no, I didn't have any THC gummies, and no, I don't think I had any alcohol in me at the time. But what we really need now, and I don't think we have it now, is we really need a 4K of this movie. I would definitely buy it. Scream Factory put out this Blu-ray. I'm hoping that they put out a 4K. Dirk, you say you don't care for the remake a whole lot. Tom Atkins made it bearable. You know what I wish that I had been able to do in relation to that remake was to actually have been able to go to the theater and see it in 3D. Unfortunately, I missed out on that. And I accidentally got the 3D version of it when I got it a home video release on Blu-ray, and I ended up trading with someone who gave me their standard definition copy or their non-3D copy, and I gave them my 3D copy. That is the only, besides Tom Atkins being in it, that was really the only draw for me, was some good 3D, which I figured I probably wasn't going to get the really good 3D unless I saw it in the theater. Darren, you say 1981 was one hell of a year. It certainly was. And you said the remake was okay, but the ending was so predictable. Jay, you said you agree that My Bloody Valentine is top tier slasher. The uncut version redeemed the film. Yeah, speaking of the uncut version of the movie, I remember when the Fangoria issue came out, showing all these uncut scenes, and this was before we even had the Blu-rays with the uncut scenes or anything. Reintegrated back into the movie and all that. And I was like, wow, the movie's great, but man, we were missing out on all this stuff. Especially one of my favorite scenes is when the killer puts the girl up on the shower head, and when her boyfriend finds her, the water is coming out of her mouth. That is one of the great scenes. You say no 4K. I still haven't bought the Scream Factory Blue. Dirk, you say I've actually been thinking about getting a 3D projector to watch a bunch of these 3D titles. I think that's probably going to be Steve and I's next big purchase, would be a 3D projector, because he's got a 3D TV that came with the 3D glasses and stuff. And when we got the 72-inch 4K TV in the living room, he said, "Well, I'm keeping my 3D TV," and I ended up having to sell off my old big screen TV. So, because, at that point, there was really no reason for me to have it, because Steve wanted the 3D TV in the bedroom so he could still watch some of the 3D movies he has. But as we all know, TVs won't last forever, and so Steve's had that 3D TV for quite a few years. And so if he wants to continue to watch those 3D movies, after this TV goes bye-bye, goes to the techno graveyard or whatever, then he's going to have to invest in something else to be able to watch these. Because I could be wrong, but I don't think they're making the 3D TVs now. Let's see. Darren, you say, Jay, go for the Steelbook if you do get it. Yeah, at this point, I'd say go for the Steelbook. I didn't end up getting the Steelbook. Instead, Steve got me, I don't know if I can reach it or not. Probably not. I'm probably going to mess up everything if I try to reach it. But Steve got me the Harry Warden figure because I already had a Blu-ray, and he got the Steelbook of it. So technically, we've got both. I've got the Harry Warden minor figure, and Steve has got the Steelbook. Jay, you say, got to see some weird 35mm print about 10 years ago. It had a bunch of the extra gore. It was a great time. I bet. That sounds awesome. Sorry, but no Steelbook shipping to Japan is expensive. Plus, don't think they'll fare well in earthquakes. Yeah, I keep forgetting that's where you're at, Jay. But anyway, a quick rundown on the plot of My Bloody Valentine. Harry Warden was a miner, and there was a mine explosion. And the supervisors left before everybody was safely out of the mine because they wanted to get to the annual Valentine's Day dance. Wrong holiday, damn. So 5 miners died, and only Harry Warden was left alive. And when they found him, he'd obviously lost his mind and was chewing on some of his fellow miners. So then they had to send him to an institution. Then years later, everybody thinks it's safe to have a Valentine's Day dance. They hadn't had a Valentine's Day dance since that horrible tragedy for 20 years. And so, the town's celebrating, especially the young people. There's all these young miners, kind of led by Paul Kelman and Neil Affleck, and they're wanting to take their girlfriends to this dance and have a good time. And then the lady that runs the laundromat that's heading up the dance gets killed by the killer that we at first think Harry Warden has returned to town. But as time goes on, we realize it's not Harry Warden. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but it's not Harry Warden. So he ends up killing Mabel, the lady that runs the laundromat, and the lady that was so excited to be giving back to the community and giving back to the young people and letting them have their Valentine's Day dance. So the young people decide, heck, they're still going to have a dance. So they end up having it at the mine. Well, somebody's not too happy about them having a dance. And somebody starts killing people off in spectacularly gruesome ways. I mean, I talked about one of the kills with the girl being up on the shower head and the water coming out of her mouth. There's a guy who is boiled in the hot dogs. I don't know who thought hot dogs was a good idea for a Valentine's Day party. But they had boiled hot dogs, maybe because they were cheap. And you get a bunch of hot dogs cheap. But there was plenty of beer and other things that they had. And then some of the young people decide they're going to go down in the mine, take a ride in the rail cars, as Steve was talking about, and made me laugh. Where the killer finds his way into the mine and starts killing people off there. So again, I'm not going to give away who the killer is or give away any of the twists and turns at the end, but you got the basic plot there. This is when Canadian films, in my opinion, were done the best, like Canadian horror films in general. Now, not so much. There's a few good Canadian films. I apologize for the dogs barking in the background, but they hear noises, and we have a moronic neighbor that wants to set off fireworks all the time, so it could be possible that he's setting off fireworks again. But anyway, Jay, you say, Darren, it's nice here you're talking about Japan, but adjusting to not much space, having my Blu-rays and binders, and only buying essentials like Arrow Argento box sets. Sometimes it gets that way. Sometimes it even gets that way for me and Steve, where we just have to really budget. Things get tight at times, and you have to think about what's really important. Do I get groceries this week, or do I buy a bunch of movies this week? And literally, I think a lot of people are doing that, especially since the advent of the pandemic. Darren, you say you got your priorities right with Argento. Yeah, definitely. There's not a whole lot of special features on this. You get a 4K scan of the original camera negative. On disc 1, the theatrical version, you get the theatrical trailer, TV spots, radio spots, and a still gallery. Disc 2 is the uncut version. You get a new 4K scan of that one and more. But what I was kind of disappointed with as far as special features is the fact that, they interview a lot of the people that were in My Bloody Valentine, but they also, I believe, interview some people from the remake, and they talk about other movies they talk in general about slasher movies, but not all of them are ones that I'd be interested in. I would have rather them done like a 45 to 90 minute documentary just on My Bloody Valentine. That would be awesome, in my opinion. But maybe Scream Factory just couldn't get people together to do the different special features. But anyway, that is My Bloody Valentine. I highly, highly recommend it, especially if you've never seen this movie. It's another one that I'd say run, don't walk, and get this movie. Jay, you say Canadian tax loophole movies are Dana's fave genre. In many ways, that is definitely correct, because there are a lot of early 80s Canadian slashers that even when I didn't know they were Canadian movies, I liked them. There's My Bloody Valentine, there's Prom Night, there's Terror Train. I mean, there were just a ton of them at one time in one kind of space of time, and it was like that lightning in a bottle thing where I don't think we'll ever see that again. It was just a magical time, and we won't ever see that time again, I don't think. Um, yes, Black Christmas. How could I forget Black Christmas? I love Black Christmas as well. Um, I actually, speaking of prom night, I actually remember pieces of that movie, especially the beginning part, because when I was pretty young, my parents used to take me to the drive-in, and a lot of what was playing at the drive-in during that time period was horror films. And my parents used to like to have date nights even before date nights were a thing. And even after, I was born and I was, a little kid. And then when I was 6, my brother was born. And I remember them taking him to the drive-in. And he was still a baby in his carrier and stuff. But prom night is one that I remember the beginning of it, where the little girl accidentally falls out the window. I remember parts of Death Ship. For those of you that have seen Death Ship, and oh yeah, Happy Birthday to Me's Canadian too. Curtains, yeah. Darren, I'm gonna have to get out my copy of Curtains, actually, because I want to watch that one again. I love, even though Leslie Dawson's part in that is not huge, I still love her part in that movie. And also speaking of the drive-in days when my parents used to take me and my infant brother to the drive-in, I also remember a vampire film, and I don't remember which vampire film it was. I just remember it was a vampire film. I mean, Mom and Dad didn't take us to anything too risque. It wasn't like they were taking us to see a resurgence of The Exorcist or I Spit on Your Grave or anything like that. Ghost Keeper. Actually, Dirk, I hear a lot of people say they don't like Ghost Keeper, but it's been a while since I watched it, but I don't remember disliking it. I thought it had its creepy moments, for sure. But anyway, the last movie I wanted to talk about in regards to Valentine's Day horror movies is Valentine. And, as somebody said earlier, it is kind of goofy maybe, and having that David Boreanaz on it, I don't know, kind of made you feel like you're watching an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Angel or something like that. But Marley Shelton, I like her in it. She's kind of pretty much the good girl in it. And some of the other girls, except the very first girl that gets killed near the beginning, are kind of nasty, Especially the one girl who, no, Darren, Aaron, I didn't really like the Angel series. And I didn't hate Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but I much preferred the movie with Christy Swanson than I did the television show. So, Darren, you say David Boreanaz ruins Valentine for you. I don't know if it's so much him or the one girl that is kind of the heavy girl when they're kids, and she's the one that gets the boy in trouble, and then he gets sent off to military school and all that. And Also, I don't want to give anything away for somebody that hasn't seen it and may be considering watching it this Valentine's Day season. Um, but I was a little, and maybe I'm just dense, I don't know, but there were so many twists and turns near the end of that film that I kind of felt totally confused by the end. I mean, I think I got a handle on what they were trying to say, but my brain was so confused by the end of it, that I wasn't really sure of anything. But the movie as a whole is decent. Not my favorite out of the three. The first two that I talked about, with My Bloody Valentine being the top of the heap as far as movies. But I kind of wanted to pick at least three to talk about. So although I don't hate Valentine, it's not my all-time favorite. It's a decent watch. It's just kind of okay. Not really anything spectacular about it. It is based on a book of the same name that I have not read all of. I did read parts of it. I need to see if I can get a hold of a copy of it again. Perhaps at the library where I work I can, and actually read the whole thing. Dirk, you say I'm going to have a Canadian horror binge soon. Glad you brought this up, Dana. Well, you're very welcome, Dirk. I'm glad. That's part of what I want to do with these live streams, is maybe introduce people to movies that they didn't know about, maybe haven't seen in 10, 15, 20 years, maybe want to go back and watch it. And you mentioned the Canadian horror binge. I get on those types of binges where I just want to watch everything Canadian horror related, especially that early 80s stuff, which is just awesome. Darren, you say after Urban Legend, which I love, if I had to compare Urban Legend and Valentine, Urban Legend tops Valentine. It stomps Valentine into the ground pretty much. You were disappointed with Valentine. You'll rewatch it again soon, hopefully change my mind. But Darren, I wouldn't expect much, because like I said, I basically added it so I could have three movies. Not because I hate it. I'm going to sneeze. But I don't absolutely love it either. It's just watchable for me. And I have included it like at least the last 2 years in Valentine's Day watching movies. But you know how I was mentioning, Steve had told me that Paul Kelman, who plays TJ in My Bloody Valentine, had passed away. Has anybody else heard that? I was kind of hoping maybe Steve was wrong on that or something. But he's more than likely right, because usually when he tells me somebody like that's passed away, it's usually true. Yeah, I just gave the chat a virus. Well, thankfully, I think that I am over whatever that nastiness was that I had all last month. They finally approved my extension for emergency sick leave, but I'm not even going to try to get any extra days. I went back on site to work today. I'm not running a fever or anything like that. I've got my energy back. I've got a little bit of a cough. My throat gets scratchy on and off. And I've been sneezing and I have headaches sometimes. But I'm thinking that might be a sinus issue. I've had terrible trouble with my sinuses for years. It's either sinus or allergies. And, I couldn't just keep missing work. And really, there was only 1 week that I missed of work. The rest of the time I was teleworking, so technically I was working. I was just trying to stay away from people, so that I didn't, needlessly infect anybody with anything. Uh, Aaron, so are you saying, yeah, you'd heard that Paul Calvin had passed away? Um, like I said, it's more than likely true. It's not like Steve would tell me a lie or anything, but I just thought, sometimes the misinformation gets out there, but usually when he tells me something like that, it's spot on. So, um, yeah, I've been going on for about an hour now. I didn't intend for this one to be too awfully long. Um, Jay, what are you apologizing for? If it's about me being sick, don't don't worry about that. I doesn't bother me at all. I would rather people joke about it. I'm just glad that I'm just feeling. I told my supervisor today I was feeling 110% better, and she said that was a great percentage, and I'm like, yeah. Yeah, nobody has to be sorry about that. I would rather us be joking and laughing about stuff. I was sick for so many weeks that I was beginning to think I wasn't ever getting better. So yeah, we can make we can make jokes about it now. But anyway, is there anything anybody else wanted to bring up in here, or wanted to discuss, or wanted to ask me, or any comments about how shitty this live stream was? And I mean, I try to make them entertaining, but um, Darren, you say, yep, his knew him and said he passed. They did a commentary with him on My Bloody Valentine a few years back. You can see it on Region Free channel. Okay. I'll have to check that out because I would like to see that. Pizzow does a lot of, he's able to get a lot of interesting people. Um, Maybe if I ever get that popular, I can get people of that caliber on my live streams or something. Um, but as I was saying, if anybody wants to comment there in the chat or ask me anything before I get off here for the night, like I said, I didn't intend to keep everybody very long. I'm glad that several of you showed up tonight, even though I was running late. Um, Aaron made some kind of joke early on. Did I remember to turn on the camera this time? It wasn't that I didn't have the camera on the last time a problem happened. For whatever reason, either I hit the wrong button or something. But I was basically recording it, but it didn't stream. So now I've been, really making sure that it says you're live before I switch over to the on OBS. Jay, you say Amazon Japan has Synapse Demons 1 and 2 UHD for about $28 ordered. Awesome. I'm not even going to tell y'all how much I paid for mine from Synapse. Actually, I got it from Amazon, but it was the Synapse release. Derek, you say, no, the stream is great. Always good talking real horror, not just shiny, glossy, mainstream Meta 5 cream stuff. Well, thank you, Dirk. That makes me feel good when people say stuff like that, because sometimes I wonder how many of us there are left that like this real horror or old school horror. But as I can tell, there's quite a few of us still out there. And I really, really enjoy doing these. It gives, I don't want y'all to think I have such an empty life that this is the only thing that gives me joy. But, I don't drive, so it's basically I go to work, I come home, I spend a little time with Steve, spend a little time with my animals. I watch a little TV and I go to bed, and then I get up and I do the same thing again. And with me not being able to drive, sadly, I depend on other people to get me different places, except sometimes, especially when the weather is better, one of the perks of living in a big city like this is public transportation. And because I work for a metro government entity in the library, I have a metro card which allows me to ride the bus for free. So not only can I get to work for free, but I can also ride the bus at other times to go to the Highlands and get my hair done, which actually I need to go have my hair recolored. As you can see, there's gray coming out in my hair now. So, I'm looking forward to the weather getting better where you don't freeze your ass off waiting at the bus stop for the bus to get there just so you can, go into the Highlands and maybe eat at Wick's Pizza and get your hair done and whatever, little shops you want to go into in the Highlands. Darren, you say horror is a good escape from real life for us all. It definitely is. And it kind of seems like an oxymoron to say that. But it is. It definitely is and always has been an escape for me since I got old enough to know that people aren't always nicey nice, and the world is not the happiest of places all the time. And bad things do happen. And it might seem weird to some people that we find escapism in horror movies where people are getting cut up and bludgeoned and eviscerated and all kinds of ghoulish things are happening. But I think it's a true testament that we realize that this stuff is fake, and otherwise, how would you get enjoyment out of it if you thought something was real? If these people were getting killed for real and you thought that was entertainment, I'd kind of be worried about you. But I do agree that it is a good escape for us from real life. We all have a lot of stress. I have a lot more stress now. I mean, I'm happily married and everything, but the older you get, it doesn't mean that your stress level is going to go away. In fact, mine has intensified, especially over the last few years. So it helps me to do these live streams, to watch horror films, to do other things that kind of take my mind off of, these day-to-day things that causes so much stress. Jay, you say, definitely feel you, Dana. It's hard for me to get out, too. These live streams are a nice escape. Well, that's very nice. I appreciate that. At least I can feel like I'm not boring people into a coma or anything. I mean, I talk about Steve and how he says that I go on and on about stuff and that I go on too long. And I don't think he does that to hurt my feelings. I really think that he's trying to improve or help me improve the quality of my live streams. But it really makes me feel good when you guys just put these little things in the chat of how much you enjoy them. That makes me want to do them more because I know that not only are they helping me, they might be helping somebody else as well. Dirk, you say, I recently found out about this new platform, Odyssey, for content creators where people can speak freely without getting canceled, and you can sync up your YouTube channel just putting it out there. I'll have to look into that, and I'll also ask Steve if he's heard about it. He may be interested in doing something like that. Because I have to worry, especially in the last year or so. It seems like YouTube's been cracking down on, not copyrighted content, but making sure you have to really make sure if you have any kind of adult content, whether it be language or a picture maybe from a movie or something, that you cover all your bases and make sure that young eyes aren't seeing and young ears aren't hearing some of the adult conversations that might go on. Whereas it might be fine for us all to talk to each other and maybe use vulgar terminology and stuff like that, but it might not be okay on the other side of the coin for a child to slip in here and hear these things and go trying to repeat them. Some of the things that adults say are fine for adults to say, but not for kids to learn and repeat or go ask their parents about or whatever. So, Jay, do you have trouble with YouTube? I mean, as far as like them banning any videos that you do or anything? Darren, you say it's all about enjoying it and having fun, like your deep dives. Well, thank you, Darren. You've always been a big supporter of mine. And now I have new supporters, so that's, and Aaron and Wes, they've always supported me from the time I first started, talking to them and telling them about my fanzine blood type. They supported me all during that. Several of you guys actually supported me during that. And I couldn't thank all of y'all enough. Even if I lived to be 1,000 years old, I couldn't thank all of you enough for all your support for my many little endeavors that I've done over the years. It's sometimes hard for me to believe that I started listening to Dead Pit at the end of 2008, and now it's 2022. It just blows my mind. It's like, where in the world did the time go? It definitely is a good community, Darren. I totally agree with that. Jay, you say I don't upload things, but the censorship on YouTube is about controlling adults. Don't fall for think of the children. And I can see that too. It's kind of the silencing of the masses, so to speak. And censorship, I have a really big problem with censorship. And I have said that on here, on live streams. And I've also said that I'm, against real animal cruelty on movies. That's the only kind of thing that I think we should, as human beings, should fight to prevent that, because it's just ridiculous that you would have real animal killing in a movie when you can fake it, and fake it realistically enough that you don't have to kill the poor animals, be it a snake or a badger or a mongoose or a turtle. I mean, I don't care what it is, even a spider. I don't want spiders in my house, but I'm not going to go out in their native environment and just start chopping them up for no reason. So that's one thing that I will never understand. Or kitty porn, child porn, that's something I would never, ever want to see. If there is such a thing as a snuff film, I never want to see that either. There's enough fake killing on all these horror movies that we talk about. uh, that we can enjoy purely on entertainment purposes because we know it's not real. But I'll get off my soapbox now. Um, Darren, you say you clicked on the Dead Pit Madman show back in 2007. The rest is history. Made some great friends. I did too, Darren. I made some of the best friends I've ever had through connections with Dead Pit. I met Steve through Dead Pit. Um, I never would have met Steve, let alone married him, if I had not met him through Dead Pit. Aaron, you say I admire the passion you have for the movie Still, Dana. I enjoy watching your videos. Thank you, Aaron. I try to not lose that passion, because if we lose that passion for the things we love, what do we have left? Jay, you want to know how do I feel about cops in movies always going to strip clubs? I don't know. I don't really think about it that much. I mean, they do go to quite a few strip clubs. The cops in movies do, but I guess I never thought too much on it. Brad, yeah, they did eat the turtle, but I heard in a lot of those cannibal movies that they made it seem like the people playing the cannibals in the movie, that was realistically what they ate all the time, and that was not necessarily the case. They ate a lot of things, and the way the animals were killed in the movie, it was torturous. If they were really going to eat the animals, then they should have killed them quickly. Have some mercy on them. I hated it when my dad killed a turtle so my gran could make turtle soup one time. But, even though it was still awful and I didn't want to hear the gunshot, my dad did shoot the turtle in the head to kill it quickly before he started cutting it up. And when they show that poor turtle in Cannibal Holocaust, I think if I remember right, they're cutting on that poor thing while he's still alive, cutting his legs and head and stuff off. And it's just gruesome. Jay, you say, oh, you and Steve, a Dead Pit couple, that's adorable, warms my black heart. Yeah, we are. Wes likes to really talk about all the people that got together that were in some way, shape, or form like kind of brought together because of Dead Pit. You're sure that was the 10th turtle they killed and said, I was just kidding, they ate it. I think somebody said that somebody did eat the turtle, but still, it's like, it just bothers me the way it was killed on film. And they didn't have to eat the turtle. If somebody was starving to death, it might be one thing. But nobody was starving on that set. But Darren, you say Cannibal Holocaust is a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece on a lot of levels, and it is. I didn't say this early on when I was talking about cannibal films in my fanzine, but in the last few years, I've changed my mind as to which one, either Cannibal Holocaust or Cannibal Ferox, was the balls to the wall cannibal movie. Definitely, it's Cannibal Holocaust now. Yeah, see, Dirk, my dad's a hunter. He's hunted all kinds of animals over the years. And I've talked about being a daddy's girl, and I like to do a lot of things, a lot of the same activities that my dad did, but hunting was not one of them. Now, I like to go with him deer scouting when he was not hunting, but he was putting up his deer stands and stuff, and he would show me the deer the footprints where they'd been walking, and other various things, and that just was interesting to me. So I really understand the hunting aspect. And my dad, he enjoyed hunting, but the one thing he never wanted to do was to maim an animal where it was dragging itself through the woods and he could not find it, or he would find it a day later and it was dead. And of course, then you couldn't take it and eat it or anything because the meat would be, all ruined. But I've ate my fair share of deer meat. I've ate fish. When I was real young, I ate squirrels and rabbits. I've ate frog legs. And I mean, all those things have to be killed before I could eat them. So, I don't want to be a hypocrite here. I'm a meat eater. I still am a meat eater. So, I just hate the thought of an animal being killed for real for a movie when there's absolutely no reason for that to happen. Jay, you say, okay, no animal killings on films now. Everyone agrees that's a good thing, but they took away the cops going to strip clubs and juicy bullet squibs, too. Yeah, I love juicy bullet squibs. Brad, you say Milo and Otis was made in Japan. They killed like 100 animals while filming, and it's a children's movie. Oh, goodness, I don't want to think about that. Jay, you say Campbell Ferox is lighthearted with John Morgan saying twat all the time. That's one thing I asked Steve. I'm not trying to be vulgar here by saying the word twat. I'm just saying it seems funny that there's a lot of Italian films, especially the old Italian exploitation films, where the guys refer to women as twats. And it's like the ultimate insult. They don't call them a bitch or whore or anything like that. They call them a twat. Dirk, you say right, but torture is psychotic. Yeah. Yeah, it's it's so pointless. It's really, really pointless. Which is why I would say if there are real snuff films out there, I don't want to see those. Darren, you say would love to get Giovanni Lombardo Radice on the Eurocult podcast. That would be awesome because I interviewed him through email correspondence back when I did the cannibal or Italian horror issue of Blood Type. And he was just so sweet and so accommodating. And he didn't act like he'd been asked the same questions a million times, and I know he had. And he always seemed like he had a sense of humor about stuff, even the stuff that was painful for him on the set of movies like Cannibal Ferox. Yeah, the Italians do love their slapping. Yeah, there's a lot of things that the Italians love. But I am just looking on here. I have had a wonderful conversation with you guys, but it is now 10 o'clock and I haven't even had my snack for the night. And with me being diabetic, I definitely got to have a snack before I go to bed. And even though I don't have to get up really early tomorrow, it's going to be a late night for me because I don't get off till 9. So I want to thank you guys again for showing up and hanging out with me for almost an hour and a half. I'm going to say goodnight for now. Hope to do one of these again sometime soon because I'm wanting to try out this damn green screen again. I'm so enamored of my new green screen that straps to my chair. Now I can feel the whole background. You don't have any background other than what I've got put on there. It's just awesome. Um, you have a good one too, Darren. Jay, you said if you had to deal with the old world Italian women, you'd understand. uh, but everybody have a good night. God bless you for stopping by and hanging out with me for a while. And I hope to be back doing this again soon, guys. Good night, Jay. You're welcome.